I don't feel alone. We just settled in and it already feels like home.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford. Powered by Horizon. This is big. This is gig. Hello, everybody. This is Marty, and welcome to the Feels Like Home podcast. This week, Mike and I sat down with a great friend of ours, Bill Betson. Bill is a financial advisor for Edward Jones here locally in Chillicothe. But Bill, Mike, and I, we go way back. We thought it would be great to bring Bill in. Bill is a great advocate for the city of Chillicothe and the local area. Has an amazing story about how he made it to Chillicothe, and he's been here about 12 years. But most people meet Bill and they think that he grew up here in Chillicothe. He's from Philadelphia, and he shares some of that story. And we're just excited to sit down and talk to Bill and find out a little bit more about his life and how he got to Chillicothe and why he loves this community like he does. So we hope you enjoy this conversation with Bill Betson. Bill, welcome to the Feels Like Home podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marty. Mike, thanks for having me.
William Jehoshaphat Betson with us.
It's close enough.
I tell people all the time, whenever I refer to you, I always do a middle initial, something different with a middle initial. Is it not even J? It is J, right?
It is J. You're right. Yeah. It's far less exciting. It's just John.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, that's still pretty exciting.
You know.
But he's Bill Betson to all of us who know him and love him. So Bill is one of the transplants in Chillicothe like me. But beyond that, Bill's just an all-around good guy. He's a sports coach. He started here as a youth pastor. You worked at AT&T, right?
I did.
And then you're a financial advisor now with Edward Jones. We're not going to delve deeply into that because of, God knows the Securities and Exchange Commission probably
they're listening.
Somebody that listens to podcasts. And
he runs into the same thing that I have to deal with, privacy policies from King's National Bank.
Absolutely.
But, we're excited to have you on, man. It's kind of a no-brainer now that you think about it. Because all the things that you do in the community and so on. And I don't know if there's a lot of people that haven't met you yet at this point. You moved here when?
So I moved here in October of 2010. So it's been almost 12 years.
And you were a youth pastor at a local church, and we stopped you from saying something off mic that you were going to say about when you were getting ready to move here, right?
Oh, yeah. So I was thinking of when I first met you guys, and when I first moved here, I applied to be the youth pastor at Trinity Church, and the youth group was doing a concert over at Zane Trace with the Marty Ford Experience.
There we go.
Here we go.
And I remember sitting in the back watching this guy on stage, just thinking, man, he is so cool. And he has a great voice. He's good with the guitar. The whole band's up there killing it. 12 years later, we're sitting around the table here.
Here we are.
It's crazy.
I had forgotten that you guys, that you brought the youth out to that event. I don't even remember what that event was for, who it was sponsored by, because I've played at Zane Trace a few times, my alma mater.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's funny. I got a phone call. They're hosting the cantata from King Sinai Methodist Church tomorrow night, and they were rehearsing, and they're using some of my PA. So I got a phone call. It's like, hey, how does this work?
That's awesome.
So I want to go back to, because I think a really essential part of your story is you grew up in Philadelphia.
I did.
We always joke about East Philadelphia, born and raised, and so on and so forth, but it's kind of real.
West Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Southwest Philadelphia.
Southwest.
Close enough, though.
But nevertheless, a tough neighborhood growing up, right?
It was. It was a little different than Chillicothe. It was a pretty economically depressed area. Lots of fights and drug use around, and all that fun stuff.
Unfortunately, you did not have an auntie and uncle in Bel Air, so
I didn't. That would have been amazing. We actually lived next door to a bar, and then across the street from us there was another bar. And my entertainment when I was a kid was I would go to my parents' bedroom window and look out to the front of the house, and around 1:30 at night when the bars closed on Friday and Saturday, they would start fighting.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, that was my entertainment as a kid.
MMA out in your
Yeah, it was awesome.
Drunken MMA.
As a kid, it was awesome. As a parent, I'm like, I would never want my kids to see that, of course.
But obviously that left an indelible impression. And growing up in that neighborhood, growing up in that environment, left an impression on you. And I guess we all are a product of our past, right? Yeah, so, sure. I mean, what do you think that did for you? I mean, obviously you ended up graduating high school and then you went to Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia. So then obviously you were escaping, but we were actually talking about this. You talked about it at our First Wesleyan men's breakfast this week about some things happened that kind of put people in your path that ended up,
oh man,
things just come full circle, right?
Yeah. It is crazy to me and the more I think about this, the more nuts it just gets to me. So when I was a kid in Philadelphia, we had we lived across the street pastor had moved in, and him and his family took a liking to myself and my two sisters. And anyway, we would, when I was 4 years old, I would go to this vacation Bible school that they had, and they had a group from Gahanna, from a church in Gahanna, come in and lead VBS, a bunch of teenagers, that whole deal. And the youth pastor of that group is actually now a pastor here in Chillicothe. And then on top of that, kind of rewinding back when that pastor and the lead pastor of that church and the pastor of my church, lots of pastors happening here, they would, at Liberty, before they left to go out and plant churches, is what they were doing. Before they left, they would get together weekly and pray. And in the last few years, I learned that someone who would go and pray with that group is actually a friend of mine now. And wow. She's from here in Chillicothe, and she remembers that group, the Liberty. They called it the Liberty 8 at the time. So, yeah, Chillicothe had an impression on me before I could say its name for sure. I was 4 years old getting ministered to by people who were either from Chillicothe or would be coming to Chillicothe in a few years as well. So it's a small world, they say. And I mean, as cliche as that is, it's really true.
Well, when I moved here in 97 from Sandusky, people said, oh, you will never believe all the things that get connected back to Chillicothe. And I was like, oh, give me an example. And they were like, oh, Princess Diana. And
what?
I was like, what? And come to find out, like Princess Diana's great grandfather lived in Chillicothe at one point in time. And I was like, all right, you're going to have to prove this to me. And then they showed me all these newspaper clippings from when she was married to Charles and all this stuff. And there were all these things that they traced back and everything. And I was like, good Lord, if you can connect that here, you can probably connect anything,
That's incredible for such a small community when it's, all said and done. The amount of connections that there are, it's remarkable.
Yeah. So you get to Liberty. Did you always know that you wanted to be a youth pastor or a pastor in some sort?
I did. I did. So when I was a kid, I just, in my mind, there were these people in my life that did so much for me. And I thought, my gosh, if I could be like that to somebody else. Right. So when I went to Liberty, there were there were two things that I was battling between. So my first semester, I took a criminal justice class and a youth ministry class. So I was like, I'm either going to be a police officer or a youth pastor. And for my friends who were police officers, they're like, you made the right decision, I'm sure. At the time. So
Yeah.
I had this idea that I would be working with teenagers. And at the time I thought I'd be working in a church for, the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was that. And then when I was at Liberty, that's where I met, I don't know if you're going to ask this or talk about it, but that's where I met my wife.
We're going there next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Absolutely.
So can I just jump in?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So it's my favorite part of college.
Yes.
So my first day on campus, I meet a lady, a woman named Emily Betson, or Emily Street. Oh my gosh, it wasn't Emily Betson yet. I'm falling apart.
You're jumping the gun there.
I know. A few years. So I met her, and we became really good friends. We'd play basketball together, and just go to movies, just hang out, And I feel like she would say we were just friends. There was nothing more.
Right.
Then a few years or a year and a half later or so, I convinced her, give me a shot. Come on, let's, I can be your boyfriend, right? And
was there a transaction of money involved? Like, I'll give you $10 if you go out with me. Like,
no, that's
okay, that's good. I mean, look, I think you're
I
selling
know
yourself
how high.
short,
Yeah,
Bill.
well, I know how highly you think of me. So, anyway, we started dating, and I'd come to visit Chillicothe, and I was like, this is a cool little town, but in my mind, I thought, I'm gonna move somewhere, like your daughter's like, I'm gonna move out west, go to Denver or go to Seattle or something like that. Those were the cool places at the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially Seattle in that time frame, probably, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was coming off the grunge time and
Seattle, Portland, and those streets are all real hipster.
Yeah, good music, Mark Driscoll and his church in Seattle,
Everything's on the upswing.
Yeah.
Little did we know.
Well, they do call Chillicothe the Portland of the Midwest. So
Yeah, I've heard that.
I think we just coined that right now. on this
Yeah.
podcast.
yeah, I'm getting that on a T-shirt.
That's right.
Ben Thompson, if you're listening, I want that on a T-shirt. So obviously things progress. You later then make Emily your wife. And
Yeah. So it's a funny little story if you're good with it.
I am.
So
very good with it.
So when I realized that Emily was the woman I wanted to spend my life with, I knew I had to talk to her parents and, ask permission, like, can I have your daughter's hand in marriage kind of thing?
Now, for people that don't know, your father-in-law is a judge.
He
has
is.
been a judge for a long time in this town, big in the community as well. So, so
Fantastic guy.
This is not just going to ask anyone. He's a lawyer. He needs to be persuaded, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he was very gracious. And in my mind, I was still at the point where I was pretty nervous or, around them. I'm like, I should be on the opposite side of the bench, with how I grew up and, those types of things, if he was a judge. And anyway, I drove up and we went to Olive Garden because that was the fancy place at the time. That's still, Olive Garden. I like Olive Garden. And I got some food. They got food, and I didn't eat any of my food for about a half hour. And finally, John looks over at me and says, "So, why'd you drive up here? What's going on?" So I nervously and almost sheepishly, I want to marry your daughter. So we go through the whole deal, and he says, "Well, that'd be." In my mind, I think he said that would be amazing, but he might have said something a little different. But he said, "But there's one thing: the furthest you can move away is Kingston." I didn't know where Kingston was.
You're like Jamaica?
I was like, Kingston, where's that? And Lynn, my mother-in-law, she just starts laughing and she's like, Kingston's right down the street. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's not going to happen. 12 years later, or 14 years later, I'm here, of course.
So did you move here straight out of college?
I didn't. So it was pretty close. So after school, I went to New Jersey and I was youth pastoring at a church there.
Okay.
Emily and I were engaged at the time. And as much as I love the people in New Jersey, I realized the East Coast, not a big, for friends that are listening, New Jersey, you already know, I'm not a huge New Jersey fan. I mean, there's a sign as you drive into the state that says, thinking of suicide, call this number.
I've actually seen that.
Yes.
So, yeah.
To me, that says a lot. I'm sure the governor of New Jersey is listening, so please change that if you haven't already. So I was there for 6 or 8 months, I guess 6 months, and I realized it wasn't for me. So I moved to Chillicothe at that point, and it wasn't more than a few months of being here that I realized this is where I wanted to spend the rest of my life.
Yeah. And did you get the job at Trinity like the same time frame, or was that a little bit of time?
It was, so I moved here in October. I started at Trinity on January 1st. So in the meantime, when I moved here, right out of school, I'm driving down Bridge Street, essentially applying anywhere that'll accept an application. And Big Sandy Superstore hired me. Great place. I think they realized, and I realized pretty quickly, that furniture sales is not for me. I could sell a recliner. I believe in recliners.
Sure.
I couldn't sell a couch to save my life, though. And after the 2.5 months there, I became a youth pastor.
In your defense, most of us in college spend our time on couches that had 3 owners before us, right? So
sure.
The idea of a new couch is like a foreign concept.
I remember thinking that. I remember, why are people spending this much money on furniture?
Right.
Like you can go to, you can get I got my couch out of a dumpster,
At the end of the semester.
Exactly. That's exactly where I got it.
Yeah.
I'd move out in the spring.
All kinds of good
campus,
stuff.
There's lots of couches.
That's how I got 2 loft beds once that way. And then, I kept those loft beds for like 3 years after that, because literally someone was going to throw them away. I was like, hey, I'll take those. And I don't remember how I got them into the little car that I had, but I'm sure it was beyond a tight fit. So
creative.
I had this little 1989 BMW I bought for $700 from a guy in an alley in Lynchburg. And I strapped my couch to the top of it. So I'm driving down the highway. I was an idiot. It was nuts.
We all were.
Like, man.
I think everybody has a story about.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Trying to move some piece of furniture or something that doesn't fit in your car.
Yeah.
That you don't have the right vehicle for.
It's encouraging that I wasn't the only one.
No,
I don't think I was old enough to like rent a U-Haul at the time. Is what it was.
Sure.
I had a little Honda Civic, and I pretty much built, I don't know, what our first house, or that'd be our second house. I did all kinds of construction projects, carrying lots of lumber on the bike rack that I had on top of that Civic, because I didn't have a truck. I didn't, you just use what you have.
I love it.
And you get lots of strange looks when you driving down the road. And
you do.
You've got 62 by 4s on top of a Civic on a bike rack.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So your time in youth ministry ends. You may want to talk a little bit about that, because I think you just kind of realized that maybe it wasn't really what you wanted to do. It wasn't your passion anymore. Yeah.
So passion might not be the exact way. In my mind, it was, I believe in the local church. I believe in full-time vocational ministry. I believe there's a need for that. And there are people, we all go to church together. The pastors in our church are unbelievable, in so many ways. What I found was I kind of like opening up some like vulnerability here, but I found that I was looking at it more as a job than as a ministry. And for me, I got to the point where I just wasn't comfortable. Like I felt guilty, like getting paid, and not to say that like I said, there's a need for full-time vocational pastors. I 100% believe that, but I just wasn't able to do that. So, looking back, I feel like now I have more of a ministry than I did when I was youth pastoring. And you know, that might sound, if you're listening and you've gone to Trinity when I was there, I'm please know that I was all in, of course.
I said the first thing. I said the same thing about the first, because when I got here, I was city editor for a year, and then I became managing editor. Mm-hmm. And there's a huge difference between managing 5 people and 25 people.
Sure.
And so I always say the first couple of years, I'm so sorry to those folks, because like I couldn't even manage myself. Nevertheless, try to manage 25 people and, you know, people with varying degrees of experience in the profession and everything else. I thought, man, I don't deserve a lot of this. I made a lot of mistakes, you know. You look back at it, you know, after I'd been there 10, 15 years, you look back at it and go, man, I feel bad for those folks. They got the short end of the stick, you know. So,
well, Bill, going back to what you said about not feeling guilty a bit about being paid for doing that, and then now where you sit with your ministry that you have, and the work that you do. I had somebody tell me a long time ago, I thought I wanted to be a full-time worship pastor, right? That was my dream, was like once I started leading worship that I would just work in a church and that would be my vocation. And I had somebody tell me, like, sometimes have your job enables you to do ministry. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes your job is ministry.
Yeah.
And there's a distinction. And so you have to find out, and I think that's what you discovered.
Absolutely.
Was your job enables you to do ministry, and that's a better place for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you remember when Emily Poe was on, yeah, she talked about how Joel sold insurance to support his Jesus habit. And it's a great point. You know, I think.
And Joel, and in all seriousness, Joel may have been the one that told me that. Talk about, you know, small. Yeah. Like, I think it was either, it was a combination of him and another person at Los Mariachis and Carl's Townhouse, who really got me thinking about full-time vocational ministry, right, and what my role in that was. And well, you guys know Joel. When he talks, you listen.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So when you leave that role as a pastor, do you immediately walk into something else, or are you just trying to find something else at that point? You're trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure it out. Initially I wanted to, I worked at Chick-fil-A with Joe Benson.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. When Jules was born?
When Juliana was born, we were on our way home, and Kel said, I want to stop at Chick-fil-A. And so we go in, the place was swamped.
It's crazy.
I mean, swamped. And I'm standing there and I look over and I'm like, Kels, that guy lives in Chillicothe. And she's like, who is it? I was like,
yeah, at that point, I didn't know Kelsey at all. You know?
I was like, that's Bill Betson. He lives in Chillicothe. And I said, I've known him for a long time. And she's like, seriously? And so then you were like, hey, how you doing? That was bizarre.
It was it's a vivid memory I have from that time. And yeah, so I worked there, and I remember telling Joe something along the lines of, hey, I'm like, you can pay me whatever. I just want to see this environment. And my ultimate goal was to see if operating a Chick-fil-A was feasible. And operating a Chick-fil-A in Chillicothe, you know, how many times do you guys get asked? How many times do you get asked about Chillicothe? You know, it's
like
Chick-fil-A in Chillicothe. It's crazy. So it was awesome. I worked there with Joe for about a year. I'm pretty sure it cost me more money to work there.
Sure. Yeah.
At that time, Emily Betson was a nurse at Adina. We didn't have any kids, so we had that flexibility to be able to, you know, do something like that. And Joe would take me to these training seminars, and got to meet Dan Cathy, the CEO of Chick-fil-A, and when we were there, he told me that one of his favorite things to do was be a Sunday school teacher, and like, so you hear this CEO talking about his ministry. So
Right.
everything's just working at this time, of what am I going to do in the future? So anyway, when I found out that Chick-fil-A and Chillicothe were not going to be a match within the next 10 years from when I was there, that was just a little too long.
Right.
To be there, but it was a great experience. So
Yeah.
I worked there, and then I was at AT&T for a little while before Edward Jones.
And how did that come about? Because did they approach you, or you, did you answer help wanted, come be a financial advisor?
Yeah, I wish it was that easy.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So so I had a guy when I was at Trinity. There was a guy that I was on the church board with. Well, I was the youth pastor, and he was on the church board. And after a board meeting one day, he'd give me a hard time about not wearing a tie. And Charles Pockers, you know who you are. And so if you know Charles, Marty, you're shaking your head.
Yeah.
So
I grew up at King's United Methodist Church.
oh yeah, so you know Charles
Charles
well
is-
then, yeah. So he'd give me a hard time, and then one day he asked me to lunch at the was it the Tuscan table
Oh, yeah.
in Circleville, and he said, Bill, I feel like I'm more of a pastor than you are, and this is when I was youth pastoring, so it started to start to percolate, maybe, I don't know, start to really resonate this concept of doing what I'm doing now. And I took offense to it at first. I was like, "You jerk! What are you doing? Like, I want to be your, I want to help the church here, and you're saying I'm thinking you're telling me I'm not that good at this." So he anyway, he says that, and then every so often he'd trickle in, "Hey, I think you'd be good at this," and I kept saying, I don't think so. I went to school for biblical studies, and I was 25 years old, so a few years later is when I started the process where I was like, okay, yeah, let's do this. And, turned out to be the best decision, of course.
Yeah. It feels to me, in full disclosure, Bill is my financial guy. We need to talk about the market. No, I'm kidding. But seriously, he's my financial guy. And I feel like you really enjoy what you do now. This is big. Horizon Fiber Internet is ready
Let them get you hooked up and power your Wi-Fi network.
with the speed and reliability that only a 100% fiber network can do.
Horizon is ready to help you do what you do better. With real people, real rates, and a real service.
Connect with them today, and the first month is free, plus no contracts and no data caps. Call 740-772-8331
Or visit horizonconnects.com/Chillicothe
to sign up today.
Yeah, 100%. It's so I legitimately feel like I'm able to help people as much as I possibly can. So like what we talk about are what's most important to you. So for me, it's no different than pastoring in that sense, right?
Yeah.
And we dive deep into your personal life and to what you want to do. And again, I guess for me, it's powerful when I can be in my office and there's so many conversations I have where we start with prayer or we end with prayer, it's, I'm rambling at this point, but that's exactly right.
Well,
It's
if anybody
pretty cool.
gets to sit down and talk to you about it, it's obvious that it has become a passion for you, that you love what you get to do. And like you said, the conversations, there's still ministry going on.
Oh,
in all of those conversations that you have.
Probably more so, right? It's, it's hard to explain maybe, but we get into the nitty gritty of what are we going to, what are we planning for financially? What are our goals? Those sorts of things. But it's really about, getting to know the person. And that's, to me, ultimately, like the fact that I can have a career where I really just get to know people and be around people that I love and enjoy. I mean, I would definitely do this for free.
Yeah. Don't let Edward Jones find that out. So
Valid point.
I'll tell you what, the thing that I think, if you think about all of those jobs, and I think what makes is you're an amazing connector with people. You're very, very good at the questions that get to someone's essence. I think you're really good and you're relatable that way. You're willing to talk about your shortcomings and your faults, but at the same time, I think, you can be self-deprecating about it. But I think that
we've had this conversation before.
And I think at the heart of it though, is the fact that, when you get the answer that you're asking the question for, you can pretty quickly surmise how to then address the situation. Yeah. So for example, when we sat down, I think one of the things that you said was, how long do you want to work before you retire? And I thought that was not even an option. I have young kids. I'm going to be 54 here in a couple months. And I mean, literally within a year, we were talking about, well, you could probably retire in, less than 10 years. Yeah. And I was like, that's insane. And then you showed me everything and I was like, wow, I'm actually a lot closer. So I think I think it's a great quality. And I think, how did you develop that? Is that something you just feel like you've already had? You've had that your whole life? Like, were you, I see kids today that are able to connect with other people.
Yeah.
Did you have that as a kid or did it just kind of come about?
So I was always the kid I remember walking through the Granite Run Mall outside of Philadelphia with my aunt as a kid. And I literally said hi to every single person I passed. Hello, hi, hello. She's like, Bill, stop it. Like you're going to get taken.
That's Juliana.
Yeah. That's 100% her. Right. And so I think I've always had that desire to get to know people. I also think, I've come to realize, I also think that I've had a lot of different situations I've been in, and it's been a huge blessing. So growing up in a ghetto, where it was a different experience than, a block from the projects versus then when I was a teenager, I moved to New Jersey, and it was a nice subdivision, typical upper middle class area kind of thing, where I was. And I felt out of place there for the longest time.
Sure.
Because I'm like these people aren't like me, right? And then I moved from there to Virginia, which was for me the South.
Right.
I pretty much discovered sweet tea there, those sorts of things, and that was eye-opening. Then I'm moving to Chillicothe. By the time I got here, I was like, I can, like, you just get, I found that I was pretty acclimated to most situations, just because of that diverse experience that I had.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if that answers that question or not.
It does. I think, it's like I said earlier, what we experience makes who we are today.
For sure.
10 years from now, those experiences that I've had in there are going to shape me in a different way.
Yeah.
I think so. It does answer the question. I find for me, I've had some very seminal moments in my life, right? Moving here was one, getting divorced was another.
Sure.
Some of them are good, some of them are bad, right? But those things they shape us and they make us who we are, and that's not a bad thing. It's all in really how you respond to the different things that happen too. So
it is. And like you, I think you have both of you guys have a pretty optimistic view. Well, maybe sometimes you have an optimistic view.
I have much more optimistic view now than I did when I worked in journalism.
It's probably accurate.
In all honesty.
Yeah. And I feel like I've always just been a glass half full kind of guy.
Yeah.
As bad as the situation could be, well, it could be worse.
Yeah. Right.
And my kids and Emily get annoyed with me when I say that. Things aren't going great. I'm like, hey, it could be worse. Like, imagine how bad it could be. And we have it really good.
Yeah. Well, I think that's fair too. I mean, I think a lot of times all of us, when something bad happens, we tend to think it's the worst possible thing. And then, meanwhile, it's just like, well, no, you got a ticket. That's not a big deal.
Right.
Right. Like, it's a speeding ticket, like, relax, or you ran a red light or whatever. But in our head, we've built it up to be something huge, right? Or
sure.
The sump pump doesn't work or something crazy like that. And we're like, oh man, this is the worst possible thing. Nobody got hurt. Nobody got killed.
Right.
We're fine. Right. So, I mean, in that sense, we kind of all do that, I think, to a certain degree,
No, I agree.
You're also very involved in the community. You're a youth sports coach.
Yeah.
If you have had kids that played baseball inside Idaho Valley Youth League over the last couple of years, or Y basketball, you've done both of those things a couple times. And is that mostly born out of the product of your kids are going to be there, so you might as well be doing something, or is that something you've always wanted to do?
I would say I would have always felt inadequate to do those things.
Right.
For sure. But when it comes down to it, like Scioto Valley, great. You can just have a great time down there.
Yeah.
It is so much fun. But my first experience down there, we were doing a fall ball, and they said, hey, parents have to umpire. And I was scared to death. I'm going to make the wrong call. So I was out there and I made some iffy calls. Friends would agree with me. So at that point I said, I'm going to coach.
Yeah.
So I coached, and so I didn't have to umpire. And then basketball with the boys, I fell into it, and I love it. It's fun seeing. I mean, it's just fun seeing kids succeed.
Yeah.
And seeing them excited about whether it be winning a game or making a basket for the first time or hitting a ball for the first time.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
I think that you're looking at three people who have spent some time coaching, sitting around this table.
Yeah.
And I think it takes a special person to coach youth sports. The important piece of that is being a good encourager, and knowing both of you guys are that. You are very good at encouraging people, and that's what the young kids need. We don't have enough of that in as coaches, those type of coaches. Watching YouTube, one of my favorite musicians posted the other day about going to his kids' baseball game, little league t-ball game, and a coach just yelling at kids for making mistakes and things, and it's so sad. I don't coach anymore, but I coached soccer for a number of years, and I coached at all levels, 4 and 5 year olds, varsity at high school level. All of those ages need encouragement, and
absolutely.
So I see that in you. I mean, I've witnessed you from a ministry standpoint. We've served on a lot of different things together, between the band and music and chrysalis and all kinds of things, and ski trips, right?
Yeah.
And it's all what I see you bring to the table as part of your ministry is that being that encouraging. Like you said, you're a guy that looks at things, your glass half full. You bring a lot of optimism, and with that is encouragement, and just that's something that kids are starving for. And so I love that I get to witness that in you. I witness it in Mike too all the time.
Yeah, I had a coach. When I coached basketball, this was when I was in Sandusky. The head varsity coach actually was very hands-on with the 7th and 8th grade program, and not in the sense of like getting out and doing it, but observing the coaches and making sure that they were good coaches or were becoming good coaches. And after one of my first 3 or 4 practices, he said to me, don't tell them what to do, show them what to do. And it is a really good point, because especially in basketball, it's one thing to say, you got to get out there and get that pass, or you got to move your feet on defense. Show them how to do it and they'll learn better. And, that makes a big difference when you're a coach, I think.
Oh, for sure. I have this desire internally to be just Ted Lasso out there. When I'm with the kids, like I used you remember that goldfish analogy he used during that first season? I used that I can't tell you a dozen times probably with a few kids, and they look at me the same way every time. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
It's just totally lost on them.
Exactly.
Well,
So they come to expect it though.
And obviously you came here from another area. You moved to Chillicothe. You've seen the things that have happened here. What is the thing that you think? And because this is my story, and I think it's your story too. It would be one thing to live here, but if you lived here and it wasn't a good place to be, it would be a completely different experience. And I feel like you and I both have the experience of this place has evolved so much that it makes it a great place to be. What do you see? What are the things that were attractive to you when you got here, and how has that changed?
So first of all, I feel like Chillicothe really started to change right around 2011, coincidentally right after I moved here.
Yep.
Or maybe not.
I mean, now we know.
We've been trying to
that was it
for this change, but
that was
that great migration.
I'll tell you. No, but in all seriousness, every great place to live, I'm sure, says the same thing. But I truly believe this about where we live in Chillicothe and Ross County. We have some amazing people here. Earlier, I mentioned Joel Gerber, and just a guy like that, willing to have lunch with a 22-year-old kid who didn't know up from down at the time.
Yeah.
And that can be said across the board for so many people here in town. I've been blown away by the accessibleness of people. People are just willing to help. So when I first moved here, you and I remember sitting at Grinders with you eating chips, and it's probably all I could afford at the time. They were free. You may have actually bought my lunch that day.
I probably did.
I appreciate that. But I remember sitting there thinking, I'm sitting here talking to the editor of the Chillicothe Gazette. This is insane, So when I think of Chillicothe, and when I tell my friends about Chillicothe, when I try to convince them to come live here, which I have, and in fact, my whole family moved here after I moved here. The first thing I say is, you'll never find better people. Again, that may be able to be said about quite a few communities. I get it. But I feel like there's a desire that so many people have, where we all have the same end goal. I could be wrong here, but we all want our kids to come back, you know? And what are we doing to make our community better and more intriguing for our kids to come back after school?
Right.
So I guess that's my goal now, of course, as a parent. But there's been so many positives that have happened. You look at downtown, it's incredible. What we've been able to accomplish. What the city's been able to accomplish down there. Bridge Street, of course, in terms of commerce. But there's an overall positive feeling now that wasn't here in 2011.
Yeah.
I remember my first time walking downtown after I moved here. I was walking downtown with friends who helped me move here, and a guy got hit on his bicycle crossing Paint Street.
Welcome to Chillicothe, folks.
I remember running up to the guy to make sure he was okay, and my friends were like, you sure about this? What's going on here? And God bless you.
Yeah,
I'll have to edit that out.
And but the Carlisle was a dump. There were so many places downtown. It was a ghost town.
Yeah.
The men's shop, and that's where I got my tux. That was,
the men's shop and maybe a couple of different restaurants.
Grinders, of course,
Yeah.
and Schlegel's, but which are fantastic. But the excitement that we see down there now is huge. So it just seems like there's a lot more excitement across the board.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get me talking. I won't stop.
No, you're fine. It's interesting. You were talking about, make it, I always refer to it as let's make it hard for our kids to say they're never coming back. Right. Because look, if my kid wants to be an environmental engineer and wants to live in the mountains, Mount Logan ain't cutting it. Right. I get it.
That's true.
But I want them to cherish every time they come back.
Yeah.
And I want them
good.
to feel like that pull is always there. Mm-hmm. And I think especially now when people can work from anywhere,
right,
we have a very, very important moment upon us to capitalize on that. To say, hey, especially in the area where outdoor economy and how that is expanding for us, the trails, the waterways, the bike opportunities that we have. It's just a really good time for us to start saying to people, you don't have to, live in Portland to get some of the feel of Portland, right? We're not Portland. We're not that weird, which they would probably admit.
Sure.
But,
they own it.
When, so I'm on the board of our Big Brothers Big Sisters, and when we were looking for a new a CEO last year, we were getting resumes from across the country, and I remember having a conversation with a woman from California, and I asked her, so why did you pick here? And she said, well, I looked online and it's beautiful. It looks like you guys have a lot of hiking opportunities and mountain biking, and my husband loves that. It seems like there's a lot to do outdoors. So we spent an hour on the phone just talking about how amazing this city was. And obviously, she didn't come here. We there was someone else that got hired, but I think that concept of people coming into town, once they come here, there's a sense of, I want to live here.
Yeah,
I personally think that, at least. I'm very biased because I really do love our city.
Yeah, Mike and I had a conversation the other day when we were talking about you coming on to the show, that there are probably a lot of people that are learning by listening to the podcast, learning that you are not from Chillicothe because of how you advocate for the city and the area. Like, you're always talking it up, and that would surprise people that you weren't born and raised here. And Mike does the same thing. Like, when people find out that he's a transplant, it's probably sometimes a little confusing.
Yeah.
To pile on to what you're talking about, I have two kids that went off to college.
I know I'm saying all of this. I'm like, I feel so bad.
Well, I have two kids that don't live here either.
Right.
So,
but I'm seeing that when they come home, how hard it is to leave, to go back. Every time it gets harder and harder and harder. And now I have a future son-in-law here in a few months that loves to come to Chillicothe, and he thinks it's just a fantastic place. And I'm like, yeah, the rent's a lot cheaper here too. Consider that.
Yeah, those cost of living is great.
But yeah, the draw, there is a draw.
Well, you think of how close we are to everything, right? So if you want to go to Hocking Hills, 40 minutes away, Columbus, less than an hour, Cincinnati's an hour and a half. Heck, a week and a half ago, my wife and Emily and I took the boys over to Indianapolis, which is about 3 hours away, to watch the 76ers play. But we're so close to so many things here. Now 3 hours is a bit far, of course. That seems silly.
But it's a stat that they use when they're trying to get businesses to plant here in this area, because you're a 12-hour drive from like 80% of the population in the country.
Yeah.
And so that puts us in a really prime location. People always talked about Ohio as that place I fly over when I'm going someplace else on vacation, but so many people are discovering the great things that Ohio has. Yeah, it's
Well, I mean, Intel is putting a chip plant here, and they don't just put those anywhere.
That's right.
You know, it's a big deal, and I think we're about to find. I think a lot of people are about to find out what it's like when a major manufacturer locates in Central Ohio. We haven't had that since Honda, probably, and so you know, all these different businesses are going to be pulling. You know, lots of suppliers needed for that.
Right.
I was just looking at on Intel's website today how to become a supplier with Intel, because I was thinking I need to be giving information to people that I think might be able to capitalize on this, but I got to figure it out myself first. You know, so it's important. World Heritage is important for us. And to think about that, you know, like when I first came down here, I knew that it was, you know, Native Americans' history here was really, really big. But boy, the more I learned over the last 20 some years, and even in this process of becoming World Heritage Site, I am blown away by this stuff and just the connections that people talk about, you know. So it's been, you know, I think you're right. We've come so far in that 11 years that you have experience with, but I think the next 11 years are going to be probably even more important, you know, and more interesting.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So
It's exciting to be, you know, a witness of and be a part of, you know, just a little bit of it.
Yep.
So,
well, Bill, thanks for coming on, man. I tell you what, you know, every time I hear you speak or have a conversation with you, I feel like I learn just a little bit more, you know, and I'm glad that we're able to share it with our listeners, because I think, you know, hopefully they see you as somebody that, as Marty said, is an advocate for the community. I really appreciate you and your friendship.
Yeah, me too, man.
And I think it's going to be great to all hang out together in the next decade as well. So,
yeah, this is going to be awesome. And seriously, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a fun conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Game.
All right.
Game to do this again without microphones, of course.
Well, yeah.
We're always up for that.
I mean, we'll be definitely doing the Monday Night Football group again in the fall, so that'll work.
Yeah,
out
and that's
pretty
kind of
well.
where this podcast came from,
it
right?
really did. Yeah.
It sure did. It grew out of that for sure.
Yeah. Because conversation, I think for Marty and I both, before we even started doing this, was very important, you know, and those conversations that we had that 1 year prior to us doing this were really, really important. There was a lot of political talk. There was a lot of city talk. There was a lot of football talk. There was a lot of personal talk.
Yeah, it was just so rich, you know,
Yeah.
and Mike and I, we would talk about it and say, gosh, we want to share. We want other people to experience rich conversation like that.
Yeah.
And so this was kind of our conversation starter by
What I
starting
always
this
loved
podcast.
about that, and this is something I really like about our city. I know we got to end it here, but what I loved about it was we all had very different views sometimes. You know, whether it be politically or just city stuff or COVID related, right? Whatever it was, even scripturally. We had different views, and we disagreed with each other openly, but we loved each other.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I've encountered that a lot in relationships, you know, in Chillicothe, where it's, hey, we're on different sides of the spectrum of this issue here, but I respect you. I respect your viewpoint, and we're going to battle through this. I'm going to prove to you that I'm right, of course, you know, and vice versa. But it's amazing how when you allow yourself to be open to disagreement, how great the conversation can be.
Yeah.
And that's what we did during that group.
Yeah.
I'm glad the pastors didn't know.
That's right.
Yeah.
Got crazy in there.
That's right. Well, Jim Day was involved, so that just tells you a
You guys
lot
got to get
right
Jim
there,
on
so.
here. That's what you need to
We
do.
should. We actually should have had Jim here tonight.
That would have been ideal.
Yeah.
That would have been some rich conversation for sure.
But
So.
just the side comment, like the daggers that would come out across the table. That's would be fun. Oh,
My favorite is when Jim, gets a zinger and then he'll just start laughing hysterically. Like we all knew what I was just talking about right there. So
That's great stuff.
all right, Bill, thanks very much,
Hey,
man.
thanks,
we really
man.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Marty. Thanks, Mike.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford. Powered by Horizon. This is big. This is gig.
It feels a little strange, but I don't feel alone. We just settled in and it already